we did an 8-hour class yesterday with Jeff, and we're still finalizing the workbook. Like, there is no half-ass in any of this.
No.
We built our material. He went through it. We both chopped it. We're still going to peel some stuff from his into ours, and ours will be tweaked by them. And, it's a thing, but it's going to be so valuable when it's done.
Yep.
Welcome to the Your Peak Life podcast. Let's conquer the summit of life and reach the apex of our potential.
Welcome to another episode of Your Peak Life. Today, we got two familiar faces. Andy Nelson, also a Glover U coach, and Mike Little, a certified instructor for peak performance training powered by Glover U.
Now officially powered by Glover U.
Right. Powered by Glover U.
Yeah, we added it to the flyer today, so that makes it official, right?
Yeah, I saw that too. That was great. It was great to see. I think these are the best people to have in here to speak about this because I got to see it from the beginning,
Come together, yeah.
I started hearing these things about Glover U over 2 years ago when I got here, and I had no idea what it was. And then slowly but surely, I started hearing about these trips, these events, and these things about Glover U, and people love it. The Glover lovers.
The Glover lovers.
Right. And then through our whole relationship, Andy, you were the first one that was like, hey, man, I want to be a coach, a Glover U coach, and that's going to be my role. This is going to be my passion. It is my passion. This is one of my whys, right? I want to help these people grow in business and life or whatever, and you took that on. Like, when did that start for you? Because I only heard about when you were talking about it. Obviously, it probably started well before that.
The first lead up you went to?
No, so actually, my first exposure to Glover U was in the summer of 2021. I had just come back into real estate in the fall of 2020. It was during COVID. My day job sent me to work from home, so I was working from home, quote unquote. And then really working from home was working from a real estate office selling houses because I dove back into it full time. I had been back at it about 9 months. I had quit my day job, and an agent from another company actually reached out and said, hey, man, we're taking a trip up to Traverse City, Michigan. There's this conference. It's supposed to be a pretty big thing. And I thought, what the hell is this about? So, of course, I went online and I Googled it, right? And I'm like, oh, he's a Keller Williams guy. And I'm like, I mean, Keller Williams has pretty good training. Like, if you're inviting me to this event, I'm going to go. At the time, I was busy. I needed some guidance because I was running like crazy. I think I sold almost 70 houses that year as a single agent. I had just hired an admin. I didn't know what the hell she was doing either. So I just needed help. And I went to this Glover U event and was just blown away at the willingness to share. Everyone at Glover U, like during the event, all the information they were putting out, Jeff Glover, the founder of Glover U, says, if you want to sell 100 houses, here's my schedule. That shows you how to do it. There's no secrets. And I immediately identified with that because of how the relationship at Iron Valley, or really because how the leadership at Iron Valley ran their operation. No secrets, right? You want to know how a top producer does it? Go ask them. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
And it felt a lot like home. And then I was sitting in the audience.
Thinking about the stage.
No, and I'll circle back to this towards the end just to kind of let you know how full circle this is. But I was sitting in the audience and I was watching Ralph and Holly Pearson, their husband and wife team out in Nashville.
I know them.
Yeah. They were on stage being interviewed because they had a breakout year, and the numbers that they reported at the time, I was like thinking to myself, like, man, I'm on pace for that.
Right.
Like, these guys are on stage, and I'm basically doing the same thing. I want to go be on stage. I want to figure this thing out. Went home, enrolled in 2 of their group coaching classes, prospecting boot camp and systems of real estate. I had my assistant at the time go through the systems of real estate class. and I went through prospecting boot camp. We got so much, and nothing against prospecting boot camp, Justin. I've told you this to your face. I'm sorry. Taylor's class changed my business more so than the prospecting boot camp. But it was because of the systems that we were able to put in place from following the system, and that was in the fall of 2021. January of 2022, one of the Glover U top coaches, kind of elite level coaches, Matt Sutter, posted on Facebook that he had an opening for coaching clients.
Okay.
And I reached out to him. He owns multiple businesses, has his hands in a lot of different things, and kind of aligned with my vision and our vision at the time. So I hired Matt as my first coach.
And I believe I sat through Matt's like breakout session this last time around.
No, so Matt's actually no longer with Glover U.
Oh shit!
No.
Wrong guy.
I
just met all these people.
No,
like,
it's cool. It's cool.
A few months ago.
What I've seen throughout the years is like, there are times where coaches have availability to pour into others, and they do. And then there's times where situations change and they're no longer able to invest that time into others. So coaches kind of, I don't want to say they come and go like there's a high turnover rate, but there are seasons in their life when they have more availability than others.
Now, going back to you in the beginning, though, when you saw that stage, you mentioned it, right? I know you're going to bring it back full circle. But so when you were there, it wasn't like, was that the time was like, I want to be a coach, or it was like, I'm excited, I can implement these new systems, I'm going to go back home, really solidify my sales.
Yeah, because again, I had only been doing this like 9 months full time. So I had to get the systems in place. I knew that I had the potential to run a successful business as an agent. I just didn't have the foundation. You know, I was good at sales. I'm a personality-based person, so it's easy for me to make connections. I'm not a systems person. I'm not a checklist, SOPs for our military type. It's just not me. So at the time, it was just, how do I get my business better? And then I hired a coach, and we started working towards putting the business on autopilot.
Right, versus your 14, 16, 18-hour days.
Correct, because that's what it looked like that first year.
Absolutely.
Mike remembers we lived together, man. It was like up at 7 and home at 9.
Also, though, necessary.
Oh, absolutely necessary to build the foundation, to lay the groundwork.
Yeah, for sure. When did you transition from Matt to Kate Simon as a coach?
So I coached with Matt for almost a year. He left the company around November. So I hired him in January, had him almost
a whole year, 11 months?
All of 2022 almost. And when he left, Kate was actually still on maternity leave. So I had an interim coach, Kim Zuroff, who's a team leader out of Keller Williams. Shout out Kim. Her market center was actually the most profitable in their whole region. I just saw she posted that on Facebook.
Nice, congrats.
So high level. You guys know the Glover U coaches are all high level people, whether they're team leaders or agents or whatever.
Or brokers. Yeah.
Or brokers, Yep. But I had Kim for a short period, and then once Kate came back from maternity leave, I had already expressed that I wanted to be a coach to Matt. And that just kind of happened naturally. As my business became smoother, I didn't have to run and gun as much.
You could give more time to that.
I had more time, and I became, as high achievers, we always feel like we should be doing more. So I was like, cool. Instead of working 80 hours a week on real estate, now I'm working 60 hours a week on real estate. I'm going to fill this other 20 hours with something else. And then
it always works that way.
Well, and then I found as I started here internally with a couple of agents. I just said, hey, listen, I want to get into coaching. I'd like to start with practicing.
Right.
And I brought on 4 agents in Iron Valley as one-on-one coaching clients, and I did it for free. And that's what really kind of got me like, okay, I like this.
And those same people went to the Glover U events, right? I remember there was a point where it was like you, I think the Montenegros went first. Who was the first one to go?
Actually the Avila team. Breland. I mean, it started with me. So when I went, the Avila team, Rick Moreno was there, not with Iron Valley at the time. He was with another brokerage. Their whole family was with another brokerage. And we actually made that connection at the event. Yeah. And now they've been with us a couple of years.
That's right. And I remember, and I mean, one thing I could say about you is you had your calendar, sign up here. Here's an hour of my time, sign up. And, a lot of the agents who took advantage of that, we see their careers progress and do it consistently.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and selfishly, like, it was just practice for me. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I had to start somewhere. I knew that I knew the basics, but I didn't have a foundation. So it was a good place for me to start. And they all got benefit out of it. It's not like I took advantage of them. But
so where's the progression from, you went from Matt to Kate, it's now January 2023. When did you know what was happening in June was going to happen?
So let me think.
If you catch what I'm throwing, I'm trying not to put it out there.
Yeah, so I remember when I was coaching with Matt, Jeff Glover had made a Facebook post. I don't know why this all revolves around social media, but if you're not using social media, you should, because these opportunities presented themselves to me via social media. Jeff had posted something about looking for more coaches. They wanted to hire more coaches. And I made a comment to Matt at the time, and we decided that I wasn't ready. One of my favorite Matt Sutter lines is that success comes sequentially, not simultaneously. So that kind of forced me to slow down.
Solid.
That's very solid.
That's solid.
That's solid. That forced me to slow down a little bit, but it put the bug in his ear, and then he put the bug in Jeff's ear, and it kind of, they started paying attention,
right?
Because they never just hire a coach off the street that's not involved in their programs, right? They want you to, they want you to come to the events and be in attendance and be active in the Facebook group and help people, because that's really what it is.
Learn the material
that's
and
really,
actually know it and be able to deliver it properly. And
100%.
Yeah, that's
So once I knew that I was on their radar, I actually reached out to Jeff and I said, "Hey, listen, I've had a good amount of success doing this hybrid farming thing. You guys have not taught anything about hybrid farming.
That's when you co-hosted.
I would like to volunteer to host a webinar on hybrid farming." And that was, to me, kind of like, basically it was like me auditioning without them.
Let me show you my value.
Yeah, without them asking me to. I just decided to do it. And I think kind of coming out of that, it was like, okay, cool, we're going to start working towards this progression. And Kate and I started going through onboarding probably May. We started having, I think it was like twice a week for an hour. We were doing onboarding Zoom calls.
Yeah.
With another coach, Larry Frawley, who joined at the same time.
Yep.
We went through, it was like 6 or 8 weeks.
He's in my class right now.
Larry's a good dude. Larry's a really good dude.
We're doing the salesperson to CEO with Kathy. Yeah.
Yep. He ran a market center in Houston with like 750 agents.
Yep.
And moving forward, like, one thing I did see in the office at a certain point, it's like we hear a lot of people talking about Glover U, going to these summits and the camps and the Zooms.
That's when my ears perked up, right?
Yeah, and then Mike's like, what the fuck is this thing, right? let me do the Mike impression. What the fuck could they be doing that I can't do better, right?
Chill.
Well, no, so what's funny is the first time I was invited, I told Mike and Eric, I said, "Hey, I'm going to this thing," and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing going to this Keller Williams thing?"
Yeah.
Which it's like, I mean, it's always like...
So, but to be clear, that's because we had previous experience at conferences that were not like what I went and experienced.
Correct.
So
Correct.
It's totally different.
To bring it back,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Totally different.
Eric and I were expecting to go there, get sold on a million things.
Sales,
you know. But when we found out that they had determined they were hiring you, and then you said, "Hey, Ed Milet's going to be there too," I'm like, all right. Not only do I need to go support you, but I definitely want to see Ed speak too.
To that point, it was like strictly speaking about sales, not actually being a coach, right? That's what Mike was talking about at that time. Like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Right.
That I'm not teaching, that my agents can't learn from me, right? And I
wanted to know.
I know Mike, and Mike cares about his agents. That's where it comes from. He's like, okay, let's go check this shit out.
Absolutely.
And it came down to that one. I remember you were going to be there.
You said, they put the silhouette out, and I was like, "That's Andy's face, bro." I know who that is.
I know who that is.
And then you said, "Milet's coming." I'm like, "Okay, I can't miss this." All right, you're getting hired on as a coach. Ed Milet's speaking, and the biggest thing was I really wanted to know what they were doing because so many of my agents were interested. I knew they were doing something right.
Yep.
So I went. I mean,
so I mean that happens. How was that for you? Now you're watching your guy on stage.
Yeah, no, so for me, that was incredible. So I don't do anything halfway, so I went VIP first time out, right? Because I just feel like you should be all in, whatever you're doing. And I told you, before I even went there, I had spoke to my wife. I said, I'm going to go here with an open mind. And I did that for probably the first time in my life, as you would all allude to. But it just so happened that I was sitting next to Kathy Schweitzer. I have no idea who Kathy is at this moment. I'm sitting here crying because Ed Milet got everybody in the building in tears.
Yep.
And Kathy was the one that kind of just let me know I was in a safe space, right?
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine. It's like what it's supposed to happen. Clearly, you feel strongly about this subject or whatever. You said your piece about the people being involved in your life, so I was already in my feelings. And then Ed comes out and hits you with the I'm the one, and you guys know my story. So it was super heavy for me. But then they announced the next speaker, and it's Kathy. And I know she, listen to me, I know she remembers this, bro. I turned and I looked
Kathy,
at her.
I hope you're watching.
Listen, I said, that's you. She said, it is. It went to the stage.
Oh, because her picture came up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was just hilarious, man. And then come to find out even more that she ran a firm in Boston. And I actually originally, I was born there until I moved to Ohio. So I'm kind of from there as well. So all that clicked. And then as you knew, because you were introducing me to high level people, I was like, I'm really in search of somebody that can take me to the next level.
Yep.
And then I find out Kathy ran, hundreds of agents, multiple locations, and we're going that direction.
Yep.
I felt very strongly that she was the one that could help me do that.
Yep.
And I couldn't have been more right.
So that was the same thing with me with Matt Sutter initially. And now Kate. I feel the exact same way about Kate. Matt Sutter.
And then Kate and Kathy, they ganged up on us.
Yep. Well, that's
Did you already knew it before then, right? You knew Kathy before that event?
Yeah. I knew. I mean, I had actually part of my hiring process. I had to do a Zoom call with her.
Okay.
To get to know her because she had only taken on that role, I think, maybe 6 months before you met her. January of 23, she started. Maybe February, January or February, she started, and then this was in the summer of 23, like July. So she had been in the role shortly.
Yeah, and then right after that, you announced that she's the CEO of Glover U now, and I'm like,
oh, they announced her then.
Yeah,
at this event, dude. I'm like, how did this happen like this? For a while, I thought you set it up that way.
No, I didn't.
But it just happened that that was the seat, and there it was. And
well, it was perfect because I know. I mean, I've known you. I know everybody. I know all you guys, and like as I go through this, there was resistance. At different times, there was support, there was resistance, there was hesitation. We kind of went through all of it.
We're battling to recruit, and we're like, "Why is our guy going to this Keller Williams stuff?"
Right? Yeah. No. I mean, it was different. But I was surprised when not surprised when you decided to go. But then when I saw you sit there, I was like, okay, this might actually work. Like if he listens, right? Because you said for the first time you went with an open mind and. I mean, I wasn't expecting you to go with an open mind.
Oh, he came back, raving. And
ready to go.
Ready to go.
But that's, and I think my favorite part about it is like, it took some time. I think the second time I went, I brought a couple of agents with me. And the third time I went, there were more agents. And then there were more agents. And now, we're so heavily ingrained with them because the companies align so well.
Yep.
So that, ultimately for me, that is why I decided to hire Kathy. That is why I decided to spend weekends for 3 months with you putting a training program together. That is why I listen to what she tells me because I'm a huge fan of I don't listen to people who aren't qualified to give me advice.
True.
And that might sound cocky or arrogant or you're an asshole or whatever, but when you're trying to go to certain places, you have to talk to people that have been there.
Well, and that was actually the point that I was going to, and I don't know why I stopped. It was so nice to see you exposed to people outside of our market.
Yes.
And our market is great. I don't have any negative things to say about them. I love real estate at Hampton Roads. But when you're trying to do things that people have not done before in your area, you got to go somewhere else and find it.
And there's, let's be real, there's nobody left on the list that's going to turn around and lend me a helping hand at this particular moment.
But also you guys also found something that was really lacking here.
Yeah.
Sales training.
Yeah. Sales training. Real sales training.
My first coaching call with Kathy really went like this. Well, your business model is great, but you guys are missing one huge thing.
But not only that, to bring essentially a Keller Williams type thing here to Hampton Roads, that was you, Andy. Like, from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you announced like, hey, we're gonna bring Jeff Glover here, and there was all this excitement from all the
Then
realtors.
you brought the first
And I
tour
was
stop
like,
here, right?
and that's when my ears were like, all right, who's this guy? So let me go to this thing.
Oh, that was the other thing. That's what got me. It wasn't even the first event. The first tour stop
tour
you did
stop.
right here at the
Right
Crown.
here. Yeah.
And
Not
you can
even a
ask,
mile away.
and you can ask Jeff. I literally personally thanked him afterwards for delivering content that is valuable to our agents. I thanked him for not like just doing a sales pitch. He came and he taught people how to sell houses.
Yep.
And that's what we were after.
Well, and that's what makes the difference with Glover U. I think across the board, it's the openness, it's the willingness to share, and there's no recruitment. Like there's zero recruitment whatsoever. There's always going to be a like, hey, we're doing this big event, make sure you're there, right? Like I mean, the company has to make money, but it's not a heavy sales pitch. It's actual content that the people in the audience can put into account. Like you can start doing it today, and it'll change your business.
Right, and that was like for somebody like me that knows nothing about this company, my ignorance or my lack thereof, just educating myself on the company, I was a little hesitant, right? But it was really for everybody, every company. It's not. It's a sales
really
training. It's motivating.
Yep.
And even on the last the tour we went over there in Phoenix, I mean, I was in a room where I remember at one point you guys were all crying in there. There was some stories.
Real quick though, to your point, we're now at a point where Edwin and Edgar are coming, and now Eric's going to the next one, and now Eric and Edwin are certified instructors, and it's just it keeps doing this, right? Yep. And Maureen's being coached by Nick Belmore.
And then you just handed out
a
nice all-inclusive paid ticket to one of our agents who did what they were supposed to.
The last class we ran, now we have, raffles, and we're sending people to the event.
Well, check this out. So we did the tour stop, right? And you admitted that was a turning point for you, which is great. Christian Juarez with Onyx, Onyx Realty Professionals. What is the Imperium Don? He came to the tour stop. And then he went to the next event, and then this last event
Cavell
in Phoenix,
brought like
15 agents.
Yep.
Yeah,
but
that
it's
was super
because
cool.
And now he's in the class with me.
There you go.
Yep.
Like it just real people putting out real information that real people can use and elevate their business. Like it's,
and then we all came back and put on a seminar here.
We did.
With
We
the
did.
information from there.
Yep.
Broker agnostic.
Which was
everybody
huge.
invited.
Man, we had such a good
We're going to have to
turnout.
book a different venue, which we already found for the next one.
Yeah.
But that's great.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, it's...
So, I mean, you come back sold. I'm getting an elite coach,
You're getting a coach?
You
didn't tell
said-
nobody? He didn't tell nobody?
No,
he's-
you came back.
Oh, yeah.
You have a coach.
I was
And
excited.
then
He needs Adam. Adam's going to be his coach.
don't they gotta like interview me and all that stuff? Like,
Dude,
to
I'm
figure out
telling
who-
you, I came back like I knew I was going to shock everybody. Like, you did what? You hired who? You hired a woman? No way. And
we weren't
everybody
surprised because you wouldn't stop talking about it.
Yeah, because
Nobody asked you, and you're just telling us.
I knew
He was
Kathy.
excited, man.
I knew Kathy was a hack. You know what I'm saying? I just closed the gap on what she's got 20 years more experience than I do.
No,
You know,
yeah,
she's
absolutely.
ran
Like that's
hundreds of agents.
it's
stood
what we
up
tell
multiple
people, right? Like,
brokerages.
are you gonna take advice from somebody that doesn't own a house? Let's practice what you preach,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So I'm only gonna take advice from somebody ahead of me.
But I got
where
more
wanna go.
excited every week because it was like everything we talked about and that we went and did, it worked.
Well, and I think that's kind of where we were planning to go with this anyway, was how we ended up at Peak Performance Elite Sales Training, right?
Yeah, at some point you guys decided like,
So
We didn't decide. We
No,
got told.
No, that wasn't by choice.
oh no, you're right. So you're getting trained, and then she evaluates your company and says everything about Iron Valley is great, except you're missing this one piece.
Absolutely. It was clearly you have a strong leadership team. Clearly you have producing agents. However, they could produce at a better clip if you do this.
Yep. That's
So
right.
I was tasked with going through Sales Rocket, which was great because one, it's a refresher, but two, that's what sparked my mind on the framework. I'm like, we do a lot of this stuff, but they had it formulated and packaged and outlined in a way that you could deliver it and people will absorb it and ultimately implement it, right? Which makes you successful
Yeah.
using it.
Well, and even before we got to that point, I was holding twice a month Saturday morning trainings
Yep.
at the Chesapeake location where I was just taking what I had learned in Sales Rocket.
But there were great turnouts.
And it was great turnouts. And I was like, Saturday morning, we're going to talk about a social media plan. And I would take the information from Sales Rocket and I'd do one class. It'd be great.
And then we
database
pop by.
plan. And then boom. And then it just kind of, they were like, well, why don't you put this together in a format?
So Kathy and Kate were both instructing us individually to build a training program. We both have been through Sales Rocket. We're both high producers. So I said, well, let's just put it together.
Well, did at any point were they talking about
I'm
like
sure. I'm sure.
Once she
the
says,
two of
"Hey,"
them
I have
were
no.
talking.
I mean, probably
right, because it's like, hey, Mike, you're missing this, and then you're already kind of doing this in house on your own time, right? And then you come up and say, okay, you get tasked with this project now.
100%. Then I
now
would
you guys get
imagine there was
together.
discussion behind the curtain. You
Yeah,
know?
and I would also imagine they did not think that we would do what we did with the assignment that we
Yeah, because
took.
you guys, it went to a whole different level than just implementing
well,
sales training. It's like,
because it went from sales training to creating a program that would fit within Iron Valley branding and the culture here and our market, like bringing
Yes.
the veteran information heavy to the forefront.
Correct.
Or adding information that maybe wasn't there, or taking information from them that we didn't know and starting implementing it, which kind of led us all the way to, we did an 8-hour class yesterday with Jeff, and we're still finalizing the workbook. Like, there is no half-ass in any of this.
No.
No.
We built our material. He went through it. We both chopped it. We're still going to peel some stuff from his into ours, and ours will be tweaked by them. And it's a thing, but it's going to be so valuable when it's done.
Yep. So we took direction from our coaches and kind of married the idea, and it was like there for a while. It was like we were creating that weekend's content on Tuesday because we didn't have anything. We
Right.
started from scratch. I designed all of the booklet, like all of the slides. I had to do all of that. We would sit together and come up with the information that we wanted to put.
We were meeting twice a week.
Ordering from the printer every
Yeah.
week to make
And
sure
then
we had it in time.
I believe at
packaging
one
books.
point, Mr. Credit Quando, what's it called? What's his nickname?
Financial chocolate.
Financial chocolate.
Really, I guess you're talking. I guess if you spin it that way, it's the branding piece. So,
Well, the branding piece was cool because there was just a sentence said, and then it would just like spark something also.
but it fit everything that Glover was putting out too, right? And the name of the company, and the name of
Coincidentally,
my
right as you
personal-
got tasked.
my personal like broker from the bottom
right.
thing,
I
right?
remember what he
So you
said.
got the peaks and the valleys, and you got to start at the bottom to get to the top. But then Dwayne Jenkins said he just made a Facebook post one day with leaving here because we always have done training. Now it's just next level. And he said you got to come to the valley to peak, and that just got my brain going crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy, because Iron Valley, valleys, peaks, the bottom, the top. Get to the top of the mountain, got to climb another one. Sales Mountain, everything just started spinning. We actually argued about, I don't know if that name's going to work, man. You remember, like when we called it Peak Performance?
Yeah.
But then the more we talked about it, we just kept tying other things to it. And now it's actually even further off than that. Like, not even just that. Like, working with Coach Burt now, I have book concepts based off of this stuff.
Nice.
And now it's more of, and even yesterday, like, Peak Performance is now going to teach the Live Unreal formula as part of the training. But I was still able to tie in your peak life and operating at the apex of your potential to that. Because in his formula, it's being your best self.
Yep.
So, like, I have a whole subtopic based on that one piece of his formula, and they're still congruent and tied together in that fashion.
But
So-
even now going through the process, I mean, I got to see it, and like you said, you're working Tuesdays, and then I start seeing it Saturdays, Sundays. I mean, we were in there 7 days a week for a couple of months,
for sure.
putting this
Setting up the
together,
rooms
and then finally
ourselves.
setting up the first like peak performance training class, and then what's that gonna look like? And then it's like you bring in Edwin Rodriguez
The
and then
evolution's
Eric
been
Edwards
wild, bro.
Yeah. Well, so
because everybody has their strength.
well, so back it up. So we put together the first round, and
It was very successful.
it was very successful. We maxed out the room capacity, but I think what happened was we realized like a lot of this is similar to Glover U material. So to make sure that we did the right thing, it didn't seem like it was sketchy or shady or ripping anybody off. We just went to Jeff and said, "Hey Jeff, like this is what we've put together at the direction of your coaches. You know, Mike and I follow the direction of Kate and Kathy. Where do we go from here? What do we do?
Absolutely.
And Jeff said, you know what? We've never been in this situation before. You guys are taking it and running with it, doing more than we even expected. So they had to regroup and come back to us with an option. And then that option was actually to white label the content, which is what we eventually did. So it's repurposed, not repurposed. It's what would you call?
I would say that Jeff Glover Sales Rocket is the outline and foundation of Peak Performance Elite Sales Training.
Perfect.
And to the
That's
core,
why it's now powered by Glover U. That's why we licensed it with them.
and to the core of this, like exactly what you're just talking about right now. Jeff Glover, who I don't even know, I met him once. He seems like a cool dude, obviously very motivational. But like for him to have those conversations, like you said, it's an open book
100%,
for those
dude.
that want to implement. Like he tells you,
It's not
this
even-
is how I sell 100 houses.
It's
Do
not
it
even
or
just
don't do it.
It's not even just an open book. It's to a point where he was like, I actually love your concept. I actually love the material, you know. But we were just trying to avoid, like, I don't ever want to disrespect anybody or completely rip somebody off or whatever. Like, you know, that was never the idea. But what I found was a lot of what they were teaching and telling people was like, man, it's almost like hearing yourself.
Yeah.
But agents, I don't know why. They always got to hear it from somebody else, right? It doesn't matter if you do 15, 20, 25 million a year. They got to hear it from somebody else that does that because they work with you every day. I don't know. But and then the way that Jeff presents everything, he's not teaching you to sell houses. He's teaching you to live a better life.
Yes.
And that aligned with me because I've
Listen.
always helped people and led people and brought people with me. Always. Everybody that knows me is with me. I think you know that by now.
Yep.
That is what made sense for me.
So one of my favorite lines that has come out of coaching. So fast forward all that as a Glover U coach now, I probably have at any given time 12 to 15 coaching clients across the country.
Okay.
We have run into this multiple times. So the thing that you touched on is live unreal.
Absolutely.
The motto of Glover U is live unreal. The definition of live unreal is a life so amazing it's almost unbelievable. And it's important when you talk about the live unreal formula. So many agents get trapped in this industry that people only care about how many houses did you sell? How much volume did you do? How
Yes.
much money did you make? And they get caught in the first two rungs of the live unreal ladder.
Absolutely.
And they just stay there, right? Now, is it important how much money you make? Yes. Does it matter how many houses you sell? Yes. But so many people never get past the second rung of the ladder.
Shiny objects,
Right?
man.
And it's crazy how many people get stuck there. But even right now, I'm talking to coaching clients, and this is where that line was going, is the motto is live unreal,
Yeah.
not sell as many houses as you can.
Right.
The motto is live your best life, a life so amazing it's almost unbelievable.
Yep.
If that's a life where you sell 15 houses a year, cool.
Yep.
Because it's based on your plan
Your
and
plan.
what success looks like to you.
1,000%, man.
Which is why I think it's important when we do the training. Like, we know not everybody's going to sell 50 houses, 80 houses, 100 houses a year. But if we
Most won't, by the way.
Edgar's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
guy.
But if
I'm
we,
the guy with
but
the
if
family
we
guy.
can impact you in any way where maybe your relationship with your spouse is better, maybe your parenting habits are better because your time blocking is better. Maybe you don't have to sell 50 houses because we also tell you how to budget your money. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yes.
yeah, man. It's everything wrapped into one. That's what sparked the fire for me, and really just the character of the people you're dealing with, man. I mean, I hired Kathy, and 2 weeks later, my dad's found dead from a heroin overdose. You know, she never ignored me or disregarded the fact that I was dealing with things. She always, I mean, you know what she says, man. MMFI.
Yeah.
She makes me feel important. She makes me feel like my life matters because it's in her hands, and that's an amazing experience to have. You know?
Well, and I think if you compare Glover U, and this is coming from a Glover U coach with direct hands-on knowledge from conversations that I've had with my coaching clients, and it's not all about production. So many people coaching clients specifically appreciate that we care about who they are as a person.
Dude, I just had a call this morning with Kathy. Told her I'm going to be in Nashville next week with Coach Burt, getting certified through him. Zero resistance, nothing negative to say, nothing but support. I love that. That's awesome. He sounds great. Can I look? What's his name so I can look up his material? Like, no. She's like, yeah, you need that. 100%. It's like, it's amazing that somebody would be so confident in themselves that they felt zero need to protect themselves against another coach because they're two completely different lanes.
Yes.
And she understands that and was actually welcoming my progression as a human.
One of my coaching clients just got hired as a coach by another coaching organization and will continue to be coached by me.
Well, I was about to ask you that. Do you still have a coach? Or
I do. Kate Simon is still I had a call with her yesterday.
Okay.
Yep.
Right?
No. I mean, that's
Yep.
cool. That's what I wanted to know. Like,
Yep.
obviously, you're coaching. Like, where do you see yourself now? Like, 5 years from, we ask people this in the show. Like, it's like 5 years from now, where do you see yourself in the whole coaching lane?
So full circle, just of those 12 to 15, Ralph Pearson is one of my newest coaching clients.
Okay.
He was added since we got back from Phoenix in January.
Okay.
So the man who inspired me to be on stage at Glover U is now one of my coaching clients.
Yeah, that's full circle.
So completely full circle. It's really dope. He's he and his wife are doing really well, and we're going to get him back on the stage as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So
I think it's also important to shout out the partners here and the corporate partners, man. Like, we brought all this stuff to the table, and everybody's been supportive now. Now at this point, like when that, and sometimes it's proof of concept, right? The more everyone sees the results, they're like,
you know what's funny?
okay.
You know who's been the most resistant to the whole thing? Me. I've been the most resistant to the whole thing. Even like from corporate, from Glover U, everybody as we put this thing together, like I was the most skeptical.
That's okay.
Man, that's okay. But like one of the original creators is like also like the biggest piece of resistance. But it's grown, and that's what's amazing to see.
But it's also, man, you know me better than most people that are ever going to watch this or even fucking talk to me.
True.
You thought I was going to listen? Come on, dog.
I mean, whether you listened or not, I got it off my chest. That's all I had to do.
Absolutely. But now, your coaching career is blossoming. You're still the top producing realtor at the Summit Point location. You're doing both very well. We also, in negotiating all this, because you're already a Glover U coach, you're authorized to train the peak performance material anyways. So it was like any contention that anybody had throughout the process really never mattered.
No.
Right?
No.
And then now you look at it, and corporate is supporting us. Iron Valley corporate peak performance is going to be able to be offered in Iron Valley throughout the country. And that's becoming real. Like, I had a call this morning, so we can set up a sales summit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're going to push our content out, and present to the agents.
And obviously now, in conjunction with Jeff and Kathy and Taylor and Kate and yourself, and the relationship continues. And I think it's going to be bigger than I even had said. Like, yeah, I wanted to do it, but it's real. People are asking for it already.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's awesome.
Well, there's a need for it. And when you pair the fastest growing coaching company in North America, yes, and Canada, U.S. and Canada.
Correct.
With the fastest growing brokerage in Hampton Roads, it's like a match made in heaven. Like, these two are just taking over the world and filling a need in the market. Listen, Jeff just came back from Keller Williams' big event, family reunion, was in Las Vegas. He was on stage doing a one-on-one interview with Gary Keller, CEO or whoever it was. It might not have been Gary Keller. Anyway, 15 to 20,000 agents in the audience. And then he steps off stage and he goes over to lead a breakout room that seats 4,200 in a breakout room.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he just hosted a breakout room that's larger than the events that he's even hosted so far. And they had more interest come out of that event than they've ever had. So many people are starved for this type of information across the country.
Yeah.
In the number one training organization in real estate, people are still starved for this information. So we're delivering it here locally. It's open to any brokerage. It doesn't have to be Iron Valley. It doesn't have to be Keller Williams. It's completely brokerage agnostic.
And I think the most important part is any one of us that's teaching it to you is actively selling real estate.
and highly qualified to do so. In fact, certified by Jeff Glover and a company to do so.
Facts.
And earned, right? Like we built it from scratch. We ran the pilot. We did multiple tests. We have proven results that you guys are going to start seeing on social media here soon. We have agents literally volunteering to just come tell their story.
So one of the lines that I learned as a coach that I actually use when working with clients, not coaching clients, buyers and sellers, is, as a real estate coach, agents across the country have trusted their careers to me. And as a result, I've had to master every step of the transaction in order to be able to coach anyone else on it.
Yeah, that's fire.
So why would you hire anyone else to sell your house?
That's a great reason. I mean,
But that's what it is. And all the coaches have had to master every step of the transaction. All of the certified instructors now have had to master every step of the transaction and Sales Rocket.
Yeah. And then, but also like, it's just a hunger for more. I still signed up for salesperson and CEO. I'm going to lead up. I still came to Phoenix, that was cool for me, man.
Yeah.
A real estate conference actually turned into me meeting my grandpa for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Like, that was cool. So I have pretty neat memories tied to Glover U, and I've only been to 3 events.
And for that summit, it was kind of cool watching you too in the background because you were working.
Yeah, you were working. Yeah,
working.
you were working instead
You
of
weren't there like
instead of
us as a
attending.
guest, so you were there working.
I was working. So
But that's cool to see.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's you talk about the progression. Like, I went from coach and client to when I got introduced as a coach. Actually, before that, as a coach and client, I got to go on stage and be interviewed as a part of a panel. There were 4 agents on stage. Jeff interviewed each of us for about 10 minutes each about our business. That was step 1. Next time around, they put me. I did stage interview with a panel, and then I did the webinar.
And then
And then I did the one-on-one, just me and Jeff for a half an hour on stage.
right before Ed Milet came on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I remember.
I've had two. I've had 2 pretty cool main stage segments at the last couple of events, and then in Phoenix, I did not have a main stage segment, but I taught a breakout.
Right.
And it was actually the biggest breakout room that they had. It was like 250 people. I've led sales trainings for Glover Agency. I've done Zoom trainings for Glover Agency and one-on-one trainings for agents all across the country now.
What are you doing? What's up with what are you doing in July at the retreat, or is that not out yet?
It's not out yet. So I'm going, by the time this is released, I will have come back from Detroit, but there's a special invite-only speakers training that's coming up in Detroit. I'll be there for that next week. And then we will, we'll see how that goes. Basically, somebody's auditioning to see who's going to give the Live Unreal formula to open at the retreat.
Nice.
And your boy's got a slot to audition. We'll see how it goes.
Better kill that
But
audition.
that's the first, that's the 9 to 10 o'clock slot Monday morning.
Gotcha.
Opening act.
Oh,
Well, we
shit.
might have a little warm up
Setting the
before that
tone.
because we got something brewing to roll out Peak Performance to Iron Valley nationally, and we look for Jeff to be involved. And I was thinking in my head maybe potentially interviews from yourself or our coaches, or maybe a panel and telling the story.
Oh yeah.
So that's in the works. We're looking at some dates and a location, and like I said, corporate's behind us. So thanks, Rob, Adam, Corey, Lisa.
Yes,
Shout
thank
out.
you.
One thing I have to say about Iron Valley, it's why I bought into the brand. They have fully supported and even like pushed, like, hey, yeah, no, this is great. We want it. We need it. Let's do it. They've been supportive the whole time. So I think that's been cool too, that they haven't been like, oh, why are you messing with a Kelly Williams guy or whatever? No,
Yeah,
they
no
want what's
resistance.
best for their agents. They want what's best for their store owners. And I think it's going to be great for years to come.
Well, and it's the same thing with Glover. Like, we've pushed Glover, and they've responded to us very well and supportive, and they've come along with it and said, yeah, let's grow.
Even yesterday in the class, like, I had to tell Jeff, I'm like, bro, you're so humble. Like, he's just humble, man.
Yeah, he's a good
like, and then he brought Taylor in for one of the sessions, and she had some golden nuggets. I'm in here taking notes like I'm back in school. You know what I mean? Like, we built this thing from scratch. We went through Sales Rock, and I'm going through the salesperson to CEO. Obviously, we run a very successful brokerage, and I'm still, every time I get on something, every time I crack a book, every time I take a note, it's just getting better.
Growth mindset.
You know,
Yeah, but you guys are also implementing.
Yeah.
execution breeds results.
Yeah. So Jeff's
true.
goal and the goal of Glover U is to impact the lives of millions. And I think this is probably a great mic drop. So the goal of Glover U is to impact the lives of millions. And at a recent event, Kathy interviewed Jeff on stage, and she asked Jeff. She said, what's your greatest fear in life? And he said, dying before I have the opportunity to impact as many lives as possible.
It's a pretty damn good response.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's solid. I mean, it's just that's why it works, man.
Yeah.
That right there, in and of itself, is why it works.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Cool.
thank you for tuning in for another episode of Your Peak Life podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and all our socials. They'll be right here, the link below.
Sign up for Peak Performance Elite Sales Training. You can check it out at peakperformanceeliteSalesTraining.com. It's long as shit, but you won't forget it.
Also, hashtag Glover U Coaching. Go check them out too. They're all over social media, all over the internet. Hell, come to an event.
Yes.